Hi, this is Stephen Van Kampen-Lewis, and it is October 19th. It's about 3 p.m. It's about 90 degrees outside, and despite the warm temperatures that we're having at this very moment, I want to talk to you a little bit about cold temperatures. And this lecture is inspired by a couple of reasons. You know, this time of year, obviously things are getting cooler here in Texas. If you're farther north than I am, there's a good chance your plants are already inside. If you grow inside, uh, the outdoors might be too cold for your orchids and your Catasetums and Cattleyas and some other plants. Um, so normally here, I've got about 2 to 4 weeks till I really have to worry about getting my plants inside on any kind of a permanent basis. This will be my first year that I've got a greenhouse up. As you can see over there, it's happening. This is a used greenhouse that I got, and I'm pretty excited actually to get this up. And the price was right, as in it cost this much money, so I can't really complain about its age. And hopefully, on a very cold day this winter, I'll be able to create my first video from inside the greenhouse, where hopefully it's very, very warm. So, as you know, most folks are preparing for cold weather this time of year, and the same thing happens in spring. Um, you can have these cold snaps, and I want to talk to you a little bit about how to handle those cold snaps, whether to worry about them, what to do, and you know, like I said, this time of year, I'm thinking about bringing my plants inside, but occasionally there will be cold nights. And a couple of weeks ago, we went straight from 100-degree temperatures, the hottest September on record. Our September was hotter than July this year, and we were going into October with triple-digit temperatures just about every day. And yay, climate change. Uh, you know, then suddenly we had this huge cold front, and it went from 100 to 46 at night. And, this type of thing will happen. What should you do? Do you panic? Do you bring your plants inside? I will tell you what I did. um, First of all, I didn't bring my plants inside. When it was expected to be 40 in the mid 40s, that's cooler than I like to have. But there was a couple things that I can do to sort of prepare my plants for that. And I know from experience that 46 is not ideal, but there's a couple factors that cause me to just leave my plants in place. Um, and again, that comes from experience. I'll put my plants outside in early March, early to mid March, excuse me, early April, and again, these cold nights will happen. And what I do this time of the year is that I'll make sure my plants are dry. So a dry plant, a dry orchid, can handle the cold temperatures much better than a wet one can. So I went through my plants. I didn't water for a couple days, and I drained all the water out of the bottom of the plants, out of bottom of the PET method plants. As if you recall, my Catasetums are grown in the PET method, and they've got a water well in the bottom. So I tipped that out. I let the sphagnum dry out. My sphagnum is packed so tightly into the top of my PET pots that they typically dry out in about a day or two tops. Um, and so when the 46-degree temperatures happened, my plants were dry, and they're also still in active growing mode. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. A plant in active growth mode can typically handle these types of colder temperatures better than a plant that's dormant. And they don't seem to succumb to rot nearly as easily. And so there were a couple of things that really were on my side, allowing me to be comfortable leaving my plants outside in 46-degree temperatures. That's the active growth mode, that's the dry pots, and it's the duration of that cold snap. That's a single night. The temperature is going to come down and then bounce back up fairly quickly. and bounced back up. I mean, it was only, in the mid to I think it was in the mid 50s the following day. So it didn't get really warm. It got warm enough that I was comfortable with that. And then the subsequent night, the temperatures were in the lower 50s, and we've dipped down into the lower 50s several times since then. And again, my plants are doing just fine. One of the things that I want to show you, well, I want to talk a little bit more about dormancy and something that's kind of surprising me. So we had these, like I said, very, very, very hot temperatures. My plants are still in active growth mode. And then suddenly, I gave them drier conditions at the roots and a couple of cold nights since then. Most of my plants are still active. I mean, you can see most of my Catasetums behind me. I don't think in the screenshot behind me you can see a single dead leaf. They're still mostly actively growing. I assumed that 46-degree drop with the dry root zone would cause a bunch of leaf drop, and that really hasn't happened. Although I am seeing more evidence of the plant slowly starting to shut down and prepare for winter. And I want to show you one of the plants right now that's exhibiting some of these symptoms of dormancy or preparing for dormancy without actually losing the leaves. Uh, and some plants are much more obvious than others. So one of the things that I look for are the leaf bracts. When a plant is in active growth mode, the leaf bracts are typically bright white, and they have these bright white stripes with some light green lines in between them. Typically, as the plant is as the plant is preparing to slow down for winter and for dormancy, those leaf bracts will become less white. They'll become either a lighter green to darker green, and some will actually turn yellow. So in Cycnoches, the leaf bracts turn yellow. So I'm going to show you right now a Cycnoches cooperi that I got from my friend Raphael in New York City. Beautiful plant. This is its second blooming, and as you can see, it has 2 spikes, which I'm very excited for. This is a dark clone, so in hopefully about a month from now, I'll be able to make a video about this and show you. I'm very excited. This is one of the Cycnoches species that used to be fairly common to find, and I'm having a tough time finding them now. But anyway, I want to show you the leaf bracts. Now, if I zoom in, you can see pretty much just how yellow those leaf bracts are. So that is a plant preparing for dormancy. When these leaf bracts right here, right in here, start to lose that bright white color and start to become yellow, that's when you know your plant is starting to slow down. I'm going to put this down here and show you a couple of other plants that still have very white leaf bracts. So I'm going to put this guy up here behind the camera. So I'm going to show you 2 plants right now. These are Catasetums. These are imports that I got from Bella Vista a few years ago, and they're doing really, really, really nicely. This is Catasetum jururense. It's kind of a mouthful to say, and don't think that I just had a brain fart and couldn't pronounce this. It is actually jururense. At least that's how I pronounce it. And I do want to show you, in addition to the 2 spikes coming up here. So first of all, this is a very uncommon species here in the United States. In fact, I can't think of anyone else that I've seen pictures of online growing this species. So I'm really excited to see this. This is the first bloom for it, and it's got 2 spikes, so I'm very excited for that. But back to the leaf bracts. This is kind of an example of a plant still in active growth mode, and you can see how these leaf bracts still have the white stripes and the green. Now these white stripes are starting to look less white and a little light green, so that tells me that this plant is in the early stages of considering dormancy. And so I just wanted you to compare that to the yellow one that I just showed you on that Cycnoches over there. This other plant here is kind of in a similar situation. This is Catasetinae matagrosoense. Again, very uncommon in the United States. I imported it from Brazil a couple of years ago. It's got its first spike right there. And it's also got very white colored leaf bracts. So this is one that I will be watching, A, for the blooms, and B, to see, hopefully, that it goes dormant fairly soon. And again, you know, I'm letting these guys dry out quite a bit more. I'm helping them prepare for dormancy. You know, I haven't fertilized in a long time. If you are fertilizing manually, you know, every so often, this is the time of year you shouldn't be fertilizing. I use time release capsules. I last put those on 3 or 4 months ago, so I assume that these guys, the fertilizer is done. So every now and then I'm just watering. But again, I'm letting these guys get crispy. And the last one that I want to show you, as I slowly put this down carefully, is one. This is I got this from my friend Gareth a while ago. He labeled it as Cloacia Rebecca's daughter, which is and it bloomed out for the first time, and it's probably not. This is actually Cloacia, I forget. Oh well, I'll write it down below here. And it is the most advanced in terms of going dormant plants that I have at this point. Let's see if I can do this without having it be too obnoxious. So I've got 2 dead leaves here. This one just popped off. This one is getting there. You can see I've got a few leaves that fell off already. Now what I find a little confusing, and I don't know if it's the weird weather we had this year, the super hot temperatures, super hot summer, super hot fall, followed by an intense cold snap, and then back up to warm temperatures again. Like I said, it's 90 degrees right now. You can see that these leaf bracts are still fairly light colored. And so they're not neon white anymore. They've started turning light green, which is an indicator that I'm typically used to for this plant, considering at least being in the early stages of dormancy. And and I suspect as more of these leaves fall off, the upper bracts will start to get more and more green and less white. And I'll see more of the typical yellowing in the leaf bract. So those are the kinds of things that you want to expect as your plants are starting to shut down for winter. You know, sort of the low end of the temperatures that you can expect or be worried about. Sort of a few tips and tricks on how to handle those cooler temperatures. So again, plants in active growth mode are less susceptible to rot. Cold temperatures are better handled by dry conditions at the roots. And you know, if you have a small collection, just bring them inside if you're uncomfortable with the low temperatures. But if you have a collection like mine, you know, just moving them back and forth is a big ordeal. You want to do it once in the fall and once in the spring, you know, and start sending your plants into warmer areas. And yeah, that's pretty much all that I want to chat about this time. And hopefully I will see you again in a couple weeks. Bye.